Hello, this is Arcades, and welcome to a bit of a tutorial video here on Stormworks Build and Rescue. And I thought I'd tackle something that not a lot of people probably know how to use, and that's the function block. Now, again, I would like to reiterate, I am not an expert with some of this stuff when it comes to the numbers and calculations and stuff, but I do know enough to help you put your foot in the door so you can try to figure it out yourself and take it beyond what I show you. So, yeah, so sit back, relax. Hope you enjoy what you watch. Hope you like what you see. If you do, remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think, and helps the channel out immensely. So, yeah, let's check this out. Okay, first of all, let me show you what it can do. Now, on the truck, obviously, we have somewhere around here. It's been a while since I've built it and placed the parts. But, yeah, so we have a speed sensor on this. Now, this is probably what most people will want to use these blocks for. As you can see, we have info there. The thing is, what does a function block do? Well, let's show you an example. One of the most common things that people would probably want to use with it is to show their speed. And as you can see right here, most people in the game typically use kph. Other people will use knots. And there's a few people who will use miles per hour. Now, you know, I'm in the US, so I'm used to miles per hour. But, you know, the game-wise, kph is simple and easiest to use because that's pretty universal for here. But you see, I've got all these here. And then even I added another one, which I will talk about later, acceleration. So how do we get these numbers to work? Well, first let's give a demonstration so you can see what we're going to be looking forward to. I'm going to go ahead and just start accelerating the truck. You can see. Yes, I know the truck's not exactly the fastest right now. But as you can see, we've got the speed of the vehicle in different ones happening all at the same time, including our acceleration. Now, I'm going to sit here, see if I can boost the speed a little bit more. So as you can see, we've gone up in speed, and this is giving us all our values. And now I'm decelerating because I'm no longer providing that power to speed it up. So, how do we get these type of calculations? Brakes. Okay. How do we get these types of calculations? How do we get them using those blocks back there? Because, I mean, that's their function. God damn it, why does the name have to be the same? But yeah, that's their function, is to provide, to do something, to create an effect. Alright, let me get this back to the workbench, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. Okay, so we're here in the workbench, and I've got a little example set up here. And we have the two function blocks that you can use. Now, what I'm going to show you, you can do in the microcontroller. It works exactly the same. And other than more options in, there's more inputs. There's a function block in the microcontroller that has more options or inputs you can use. And other than noting those slight differences, which I'll do a little later, they work functionally the same as these function blocks that you can place down. So we'll go into these. Well, first let's check out the logic. So the blocks, whether you use the blocks or the microcontroller ones, have these inputs, and then they have an output here. Okay? You don't have to use every input on the multiple to use it functionally. So that's not an issue in there. Now, if we come into the parts list and go to descriptions, it says, function, one input, evaluates a mathematical function with one variable input. The function can be entered by selecting this component with the select tool. A full list of valid operations are also visible with the component's selection menu. And this one just says evaluates a mathematical function with up to 3 variable inputs. And all the rest is the same. Function can be entered, select tool, full list of valid operations, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, and that's the only difference is this has 3 inputs, this has 1 input. They both have 1 output. You can see, like I said, brought those here. So if we go down to here, we're going to take a look at this first. Now, I was showing you at the beginning of the video conversions. So we took so one example of a use is you just want to change the speed of something. Well, you can use the function blocks to make conversion to change the number to a value you want more. And like I said, in the case is speed and acceleration. Well, here we used this right here, down here, conversions. Well, how do we actually write this out? Well, if you come up to here, this is the bar where you will be writing it out. Your equation to change what gets inputted. When you come down here, we have the variable. As you can see, x is input 1. So whenever you write this and you want to reference the input, you will be using x as that reference. So in the case of these conversions, as you can see, it says x times 3.6, x times 2.2, and such. You're like, how do you know that's times? Well, we have the next tab. These are your operators. This is the symbol you will type in to represent this function. You have your addition, which is the plus sign. Subtraction is your minus, you got your little minus sign for subtraction. Multiply is the star, your asterisk. It's there. Then you will have your slash, which is your divide. Then you have the percentage for modulo. That one's a little hard to explain, and it's easily demonstrated with the compasses. I'm not going to get into that too much because I'm not the strongest at understanding how it works myself. I know conceptually how it works, but I'm not good enough to actually give you a proper example, other than the most common use of it was people using converting the compass, the compass in the game, to an actual 0 to 360 compass. And then you have power. This is your exponents. This is like your 2 squared, or or 2 cubed, or 2 to the 4th power. These are your exponents and such in that manner. So keep that in mind. That's what that's supposed to be. And then they have other things here, like they're showing you have like trigonometry functions you can use here, sine, cosine, tangent, and they're showing you how to write it out as well. So you would write sine, and then put in the parentheses the x, and then go from there. And then finally, the add-on. This is more calculations you could do, math functions you can do with this. And this is just showing you how you would write them out for that specific function to get it in there. Most of this will probably be more advanced stuff that you would be doing, and it's available in there to use it, so they're already programmed in. So all you have to do is just write this out, put the functions in. Now, if you were to do a calculation of something and you just write it out, it would still work. You would just have to make sure you put in the proper functions and all that so that it can calculate it properly. I don't have an example of this, but if as long as you have the proper the proper sequence of operators here to get it to work out, it should be fine. And then finally, on the last one, you see here's the references of conversions. Turns to radians, that is a reference to, because I've already gone over the speeds. These were the speed ones here. Meters a second to kilometers, meters a second to miles per hour, and meters a second to knots. Then you have your trigonometry stuff here. This is the turns to radians, degrees to radians, and then radians to degrees. Turns to radians, so when you look at the pivot and it gives you, the 0 to 1, those are the turns. So, for example, like the robotic pivot and the velocity pivot, the big ones, the 3x3 pivots, they give you an output. That output is done in turns. So you can use that output and turn it into radians with this conversion, and then use that in your trigonometry equations that you would need, such as up here. Because then you could take this and just convert it in with your equations and such. The degrees to radians and radians to degrees, I'm very sure that's more for, is like this, converting it to a number you can see and understand for whatever reason, the only thing I'm, at least as far I've done for the trigs work in here, has been just turns to radians. This I haven't used for any conversions. I think I did for my radar, but that's another story. As long as whatever you're doing for the trig is generally consistent with each other, so if you start using radians, all your further calculations should be done with the idea of radians. That's generally when you try to mix radians and degrees and trying to go back and forth, it kind of messes stuff up. So if you start in radians, work in radians. If you start in degrees, work in degrees. Okay, so now how do we apply these to this up here? So we're going to look at the conversions since I showed those speed conversions before. So we've got, so say it's really simple to write it out. Overall, we want to change miles, 2 kilometers an hour. Then you would just type x times 3.6 as it has it listed down there. There you go. That's it. You don't have to put equals. You don't have to do anything like that. You just need to put in the equation. It is taking the x, which it is reading as the input variable, multiplying it by this, and then outputting the number. And it's really that simple. And that's it. Now, say you want to get something a little bit more complex. So we have this one here. Now, I know one typical thing is people like to see the percentage of a fuel tank, or how much is in a tank, how much of it is full, and they like percentages. There is raw numbers, but people also like percentages. Now, a basic equation for finding a percentage is to take the capacity, at least in a tank. You want to take the capacity and divide it, or actually no, you want to take the current level. So if your tank is you take the large prefab. It has 700 liters. I know it's 702, but for the most part, for this example, we're going to go 700. It has 700 liters. You have, say, 350 liters in it. Well, we want to find the percentage of that. Now, if you've already, your math well enough, you already know what that is for the example. But, so we're going to take variable x, which is we're going to say is our capacity. So this will be the 700. And we want to divide that, or, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself there. Sorry. We want to take the current level and divide it by the capacity, which will be, x will be the current level. So we're going to go x, and we want to divide it by the capacity. So we're going to put the little divide symbol, and we'll put y. So that will input the capacity. And there you go. That's all there is. And you're like, that's percentage. That will give you, the output will then take the x divided by y, and it will output a number. Well, the thing is that will just give you a point something something number. If you want a whole number percentage, we need to go a step farther. So we're going to add, if you know your order of operations, I guess that's the other thing I should have mentioned as well. When you write these equations out, it goes by the order of operations. To put it very simply, I would also suggest to research it more so you can understand the order of operations. But put it simply, if you remember PEMDAS, PEMDAS, which is kind of messes with some people, so I don't like to just say that, but your order of operation, but parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. From left to right, the order that you will go. So you want to do parentheses first, so everything in the parentheses will go first. Then it will go to the next one, which is exponents. Then the next one will be multiplication, division from left to right. Then to addition and subtraction, left to right. And whatever's in parentheses. So in this case, what we're going to do is put this in parentheses. So it does this calculation first, the x and y. and then times that by 100. So what this does will now give us a whole number for that percentage. And as you can see, this is the equation I'm putting in. So it's going to take whatever I'm about to put in those keypads and spit it out onto the data thing, onto the digital display after it processes them through there. So we'll go ahead and spawn this in. Okay, so if remember right, we got this one set up to change whatever number I put in here into kilometers an hour. So we'll just say 50. Converts it over, that would be 180 kilometers an hour. 50 meters a second, 180 kilometers an hour. Now this one was the percentage and the capacity. So say it was x divided by y. So you have to understand your inputs as well. So x divided by y. So we have 350 in fuel level. The capacity is 700. And you'll come out, we're at 50%. Because I made it a whole number. Now, if I didn't times it by 100, it would be 0.5. Simple as that. Now, what if I want to change it a little different? Let's go to, change this value to, say, I don't know, something random, 486. We have 69.42%. And say we have a more realistic number. Let's do 10 meters a second. 36 kilometers an hour. And you can already do that in your head because it's just 3.6 times 10. So we move the decimal over, it's 36. And finally, let's do 7. 7 of 700. 1%. Because percent is literally just being per 100. Centimeters, centi. All that fun junk. So, yeah. And this is how you can use function blocks to calculate out different, use them to calculate different things for you. Now, you saw earlier that I had on my truck, I also had an acceleration. Well, that one wasn't listed in this selection of conversions. Well, guess what? That's under the thing of using other options. So what I did there is I took a single block, like I do here, and then I grabbed I have a Delta microcontroller to manage, speed change like this. Now this isn't going to function because there's not going to be any change there's nothing that's going to read that's different. But this is how I set it up, though. And then I would have, just the sensor right there giving out data. Or actually, hold on, I can do this. Okay, so I'm using a ping pong block here. Connected to a throttle and such. But, we're using the delta of this microcontroller output into the function block. And I'm just going to basically simulate a speed idea. And we already know, deltas work on the tick, and it takes 60 ticks in a second. So to get it to go to meters a second per second, I would just have to times whatever the delta microcontroller outputs by 60. So in this case, it will just be x times 60. And that's all I would need to do. Now if we come out to here, you see the ping pong's doing its thing. But yeah, so you can see, you can use these blocks to compound different equations together. You can use them to just, or simplify things down to make where you can just find the equations. If you can find the proper equations, you can use these function blocks to take the numbers that you receive from the different devices and scenarios to give you what you want to read in a more convenient format and such. And like I said, you know, conversions of this nature, like speed or finding the percentage of a tank or even finding the acceleration you're going, these things will make it all easier to put it into a format you much prefer to read or trying to simulate or whatever. So, yeah. I know this is only the tip of the iceberg of what you can do with a function block. And I'm even only really covering the mathematical function block, because there's also a logical function block that you can use as well that has its own like set of operands and such. And that, you know, I might go over more of that later. But yeah, you know, this just it works the same way but using logics, and this is a little bit more weird to use. Now, as far as the microcontroller's arithmetic one, yeah, like I said, this is the only blocks that's different, and it's an 8 input. Otherwise, it's completely the same. And yeah, this is the only real difference, this right here. So you can still do x times y or whatever. But yeah, whatever you want to do, and it will still output here. Just make sure you keep track of these as you need to. As you can see, X, Y, Z, W, A, B, C, D. Yep. So, like I said, and I reiterate this enough, this is, like I said, just like the tip of the iceberg of what you can do with it. This was meant as tell you how you can use it so that you can work with it. But for your purposes, you're going to have to figure out why you want to use it, what equations you need it to do, and the such. Because in the end, whatever reason you want to use this function block to give you the info you need via, whether it's speed, acceleration, tank capacity, tank percentages, battery percentages, anything of that nature, you're going to have to figure that out so then you can find the proper equations to put it in that block and create the output you need. So, yeah. So, okay, so yeah, we went over those function blocks, went over some basic uses and how you can use them to, well, create the data that you want to use and display. So, hope you had a good time. Hope you enjoyed what you watch. You know the deal, you know the spiel, and if you have any questions, put them down below, because I know I've missed some things probably, because this was just very basic. And, yeah, have yourself a good day. This is Arcades, signing out.